Think AA is the only way you can quit drinking. It wasn't for me, and you may be feeling the same way. Now, it does work, and it's worked for a lot of people, but it doesn't work for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And that's what I came to understand, because I went to AA. When I was in college, I got in a little bit of trouble. Actually, my first night in college, I got in trouble. And court ordered I had to go to AA for 30 meetings. And I knew right off, I was 17 or 18 at the time. So I was in no way even ready to quit drinking. Like, in my head, I was just getting started. I was just getting warmed up. But I knew that was enough to understand that it wasn't for me. I needed something different. I needed to do it my own way, and maybe you're feeling the same way. So I started with why. Why did I want to quit drinking? There's a lot of reasons. I just wasn't happy with the way my life was. And I was just tired. I was literally physically tired of the drinking scene, the party scene. I was just so over it. And I looked at my life. I looked at every facet of my life. My mental health, my physical health, my relationships, how I was performing in my career. Was I doing the things that I wanted to do? And I wasn't. And so I did a lot of soul searching, and I was just figuring out what I could do to change. And it kept coming back to alcohol, and I come to realize, after all these years, that it was my drinking. That was the one thing that I could change immediately, and it would change all those areas in my life that I wasn't satisfied with. And I always came back to that why. Every time a craving popped up, every time I was tempted to have a drink, triggers, or even getting invited to things. I was like, what? That's not, at the present moment, that's not helping me get to where I need to be. So for now, I'm going to sit it out. It's important to have a why, and you can't, or at least I couldn't break away from that. I didn't want to. Like, nothing was more important than becoming the best version of myself for me, for my wife, my family, friends, but most importantly me, because that's where it starts. If I'm not the best person for me, then I'm not the best person for everyone. After a while, I built a support system. I had the support from my wife, I had the support from my parents, and some friends as well. And when you quit drinking, like, word gets around a little bit, and then I had people reach out to me. I reached out to people who I heard that were quitting as well, and we reach out to each other here now and then, and just see how we were doing. Seeing what if there's any books that I recommended or they recommended. It's nice to have that camaraderie, and it's nice to hear from people who are experiencing similar things. So that really helped a lot, because I was further along than some people, and some people were further along than me. But it's nice to trade stories, trade tips, trade ideas, anything to stay sober. And I'll give you an example. A buddy of mine, we were going to the same wedding, and it was going to be both of our first sober weddings. And we've all been to weddings. It's just an excuse. It's just an excuse to get absolutely annihilated. No one judges you if you get super drunk at a wedding. I don't know, maybe. But I always took it too far, got way too drunk, and wouldn't remember anyway, so, what does it matter? But, we talked about it quite a bit, like, oh man, if things get wild, like, we could leave. not a big deal. Or, you know, as soon as we got to the wedding, we kind of just hung out, just us two. That stuff helps. It helps a lot, you know, because I know he thought this, and so did I. Like, I was going to be the only sober one at the wedding, and that's a tough environment to be in when you're not drinking. But we made it through, and you know, it was a lot easier than we thought. It was much easier. And you know, the next day, or even that evening when I got home, it was just like a sense of relief. And I felt really good about myself. And I'm sure he did too. Especially the next day. Because there was an event the next day and we all got together, and like, you know, usually that event is kind of a struggle because you're super hungover. You know, you don't want to be around people and talking and blah, blah, blah. And then you just start drinking so you can like feel somewhat normal. And I didn't have to deal with any of that. That was great. So, find people who are in a similar situation as you. I'm sure you might have friends that you don't even know about that maybe are trying to quit drinking or cut back. And you guys can hang out and talk about it. You know, it's nice to have anyone to talk to you about it, but especially when it's a close friend, it makes a huge difference. And always celebrate your wins. Small wins, big wins, any win. And that may look different for different people, but it's important to acknowledge your work, acknowledge any struggles that you overcome. I feel like I struggled with this a long time in all areas of my life. It's just being like, hey man, good job. Like, you went out to dinner and you didn't even think about having a drink. You didn't look at the drink menu. Like, you know, for me that's like, oh yeah, cool, whatever. But really, that's something to be proud of. You know, a few years ago I'd be in that situation. I'd order, you know, a few drinks, maybe some shots, and get home just feeling terrible because I'm full of beer and alcohol and food. Don't sleep well, wake up the next morning and just like, man, why did I do that? Celebrate your wins, all of them. You deserve it. So, AA may not be for you. It wasn't for me. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or let me know what programs you use or what helped you get sober without using AA. Until then, take care of yourself. See you on the next one.